It was a beautiful sunny day in France. Couples enjoyed a leisurely walk on the streets overlooking the Eiffel Tower. The morning was busy with people bustling to have their croissants accompanied with a coffee as they sat in a nearby cafe chatting about the pleasant weather, whilst others were rushing to get to work amongst the crowd navigating the traffic. Nestled among the chaotic streets, a sleek modern office building stands prominently. Boldly written across its front are the words Business France. Meet Fernando, a dynamic leader at Business France in Paris. Known for his charismatic presence and direct style, he commands respect in a corporate culture that embraces hierarchy and expressive communication.
Bonjour, Marie. Comment allez-vous? Ready for our big meeting today?
Oui, oui. Très bien, Fernando. The team is eager to hear your new strategy.
We need dynamic solutions. Let's innovate boldly and decisively. The future of green energy depends on our ambition.
Perhaps we can explore partnerships with emerging tech firms
and expand our reach into new markets.
Excellent ideas. Let's push boundaries and set new standards.
After much deliberation and discussions with the other stakeholders, it was decided that Fernando will go to Australia as the representative director of Business France to organize a pivotal trade delegation across key Australian states including Queensland, Victoria, and Western Australia. Their goal? To spotlight the critical importance of green energy in the fight against climate change. One of the highlights of this initiative will be hosting a French pavilion at the prestigious All Energio event, a gathering aimed at uniting members of Team France Export. This pavilion will showcase France's commitment to advancing renewable energy in Australia, providing a platform for French companies to access the burgeoning green energy market. As the project deadline approaches in March 2025 and facing delays, Fernando aims to work diligently to achieve their objectives in the next 6 months. Colleagues gather around Fernando's decorated office space wishing him heartily and clapping at his achievement, followed by a mini farewell party with banners saying Bon chance, Fernando. There's champagne, pastries, and heartfelt toasts.
We'll miss your leadership and energy. Australia is gaining a true visionary.
Merci. It's promised to bring a touch of French flair to Sydney.
Fernando has carefully packed all his personal items, clothes, family photos, a miniature Eiffel Tower, and his favorite books. He watches the Paris night sky, spending his last night reminiscing about his time in France. The ride to the airport was a bittersweet moment for Fernando as he ventures off into a new experience. He has spent almost all his life in France, and going to a new country was both exciting and scary. Fernando completes all his airport checks and waits to board his flight. Ready for a new challenge, Fernando heads to Sydney, tasked with leading a team on a crucial green energy project, bridging two cultures in an emerging sector. Fernando steps out into the bright Australian sun, collecting his baggage from the carousel and taking a deep breath of fresh air. 2 members from the Sydney office warmly greet him. Fernando can instantly sense a difference between the two cities as he gets in the car. He observes the city's landmarks, the Sydney Opera House, Harbour Bridge, and hustling streets as they pull into his hotel. Fernando settles into his comfortable hotel room and starts immediately preparing for his first day in the office tomorrow despite being jet-lagged. In Sydney, Fernando takes on the role of director, guiding a team to promote French green technologies. He admires the scenic views as he catches public transport to his office in the city. Here, the corporate culture values equality and subtle communication, a contrast to his Parisian experience. He notices that the offices are much more modern and taller, unlike in France, and is greeted by a receptionist.
Welcome to Sydney, Fernando. The team is excited to meet you.
Thank you. I'm eager to get started.
Fernando noticed as he walked into the office many staff dressed casually and not in business attire, which was not the case in Paris. Fernando introduces himself and talks very proudly about all his achievements and accomplishments to his Australian co-workers, who seemed very nonchalant about his recognitions but are still respectful. During his first meeting, Fernando's direct style clashes with the Australian team's preference for a rather collaborative approach. This new revelation alarms the Australians.
This project plan isn't on target. We need to start over and get it right.
Perhaps we could discuss what areas you'd like to focus on.
The overall strategy needs a revamp. I'll outline the new direction shortly.
The meeting room was filled with silence as the team quietly notes his comments, the atmosphere tense. After the meeting concluded, everyone exited worriedly, concerned about this project. The team members gathered during a coffee break to discuss the meeting.
That was very intense. He's very direct, not sure I'll like that.
I felt like our efforts weren't valued.
Maybe it's a cultural difference? We should try to understand where he's coming from.
Still, it's hard to contribute when we're not encouraged to speak up.
On the other hand, Fernando is still getting used to his surroundings and noticed stark differences between France and Australia. He notices that the offices here are more open and employees are free to work wherever. Also, many employees socialize freely within the office, often going on their personal devices or catching up near the lifts. In an attempt to know the team better, Fernando sends an email to all his Sydney team inviting them for lunch so he can bond with them and break the ice. The Sydney team accept the invite to get to know him. Fernando greets each staff at the entrance with a smile. The conversation starts light, discussing hobbies and local attractions. Attempting to bond, Fernando brings up politics, not realizing it's a sensitive topic in Australian workplaces.
So, what are your thoughts on the recent elections? The policies could impact our industry significantly.
There was an awkward silence in the table as the team members exchanged glances. Some sip their drinks, others look away.
We tend to keep politics out of work discussions.
Yes, it's a personal topic for many.
Understood. In France, we often debate such topics openly.
Overlooking the Sydney skyline, Fernando sits near his balcony with a cup of tea, contemplating the day's events. Fernando reflects on the day's interactions, sensing a disconnect but unsure of its cause.
Thought lunch would bring us closer. Why does it feel like there's a wall between us? Let me call Marie and see how she is going.
Bonsoir, Fernando. How's Sydney treating you?
Beautiful city, but I'm facing challenges with the team. They seem reserved and distant. They don't seem to accept direct feedback, and I tried to socialize by talking about politics, but I don't think people do that here.
Maybe it's cultural differences. Remember, not everyone communicates like we do in Paris. Maybe you should try to incorporate the Aussie way.
You might be right. To need to find a way to bridge this gap. Otherwise it will be very tough to achieve goals for Business France.
The very next day, Fernando rose up early, hopped into a taxi so he can get a better footing with his coworkers. He got into his office with a coffee in his hand and started working frantically on his work computer. It occurred to him to go and say a quick good morning to his coworkers, so they aren't intimidated by him, and that's when he overheard their conversation.
I wish he would involve us more. It's hard to contribute when we don't feel heard.
Yeah, his style of leadership is very different. I mean, he came late to our very first meeting, which does not show punctuality or professionalism.
I also felt quite uncomfortable and offended during the meeting. I didn't appreciate that he did not let us express our opinions or participate in discussions. Rather, he just told us what to do and pinpointed our flaws. I don't think I can handle such confrontational leadership.
Maybe we should talk to him? But I fear if I was to talk to him, he will go on and on about everything he has achieved in his life. Gosh. He sure has some tall poppy syndrome.
A look of concern crosses Fernando's face. He steps back, deep in thought. He stands by the office window, gazing out at the cityscape, the bustling streets below reflecting the vibrant yet different culture he's now part of. Fernando faces a pivotal moment in his leadership journey. Navigating the complexities of a new culture and workplace dynamics, he's at a crossroads. Fernando's face shows determination mixed with uncertainty about how he is going to tackle this challenge.
As a dynamic leader of Business France in Paris, I'm no stranger to tackling complex challenges. But when I was tasked with leading a green energy project team in Sydney, Australia, I quickly realized that navigating the cultural differences would be a whole new ballgame. I want to lead effectively, but my usual approach isn't resonating. What should I do to connect with my team and succeed in this new environment?
What should Fernando do?